What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Akuma Fund. Today, I'll be discussing the energy company Convanta Energy. The reason why I'm choosing to do a lot of these energy companies is, once again, they're not as popular or as talked about as I think they should be. I think renewable energy companies offer a offer a high dividend yield, slow but consistent growth. They offer, how do I say, what's the word for it? Competitive moat, due to the fact that they are in heavily regulated industries, and also as time goes forward, public opinion and therefore government government action against fossil fuel and those types of energies will continue to be harsher over time. Hence, for example, in my state we have a legislature going through that could not be passed, but basically there's a carbon tax, all sorts of things. And whenever a Democrat comes into office, they do a lot of actions to increase renewable energies, as we saw with Obama. But the reason why I like to talk about renewable energy is because I think renewable energy is inevitable. I don't really have a moral feeling about it. It's not that I'm super gung-ho on climate change or those types of things. I just look at it like this. My peers overwhelmingly believe that there is a thing called global warming, and it is very hurtful to our ecosystem and environment. They will vote and they will apply pressure to regulate industries and especially the energy sector. We already see the emergence of electrical vehicles, and electrical vehicles is another thing that I believe is inevitable. I think once someone buys an electric car, they will never go to a gas car. But enough of that rant. Let's get into Convanta Energy. So what even is Convanta Energy? They provide waste management and incineration services. Annually, their waste energy plants burn 20 million tons of waste. Okay, that's a huge number. They use this waste. They burn it, and they burn this and they burn the waste. Okay, and from the waste they create energy. Obviously, when you burn something, it creates heat. Heat goes to a steam turbine, to water to heat steam that powers a rotor, and the rotor does something. I don't know exactly what it does, but it rotates and converts that motional power. They turn the motion into electrical power, and from that, obviously, it goes to the utility companies and to the homes of the people who are using the energy, or the businesses. Once they burn that trash, after it's burned, what is left is mostly ash and metals, different types of metals. And what they do is they take those metals and they recycle them and then they sell them. Okay, and due to the Trump tariffs on metals coming from China, the prices of steel have gone up, and therefore that business of theirs has become much more profitable. That's the main aspect of their business, but they also handle other aspects of waste management, such as in the medical field. I mean, like syringes and what else is in the medical field? I mean, there's so much biohazardous disease and all that stuff. It requires a certain type of disposal with. You can't just throw needles in the trash can, if you catch my drift. So that is another aspect of their business, and they also do consulting and I think they do some type of service along consulting. I'm not very familiar with that side of their business. So what I like about them is that number one, they have contracts with municipal, local, and I think that's it. I don't think they do federal governments. Maybe overseas they do. But they have contracts with these governments. They give them their waste, obviously, and then they burn it and they make profit off of the waste. It's very similar to with a company like Atlantic Yield, where there's something, right? Let's say it's the movement of water or the sun shining that is almost always fairly consistent, that you can turn into power. And we produce a lot of waste in our societies. I mean, just think about. I mean, I went to a garbage dump in Guatemala. Okay, I think this was for their local economy, and it was huge. Okay, it was right in the middle of their capital city, or maybe not in the middle, but somewhere around there. And where I'm going with this is we produce so much trash. We need to figure out a way to do something about it. And what governments have been doing is they've been hiring Convanta Energy. They have a very, very wide, diverse range of locations from, I believe, the United States, Ireland, the United Kingdom, Canada, China, and Italy. But most of their locations are inside the United States. But the beauty about it is they're pretty spread out along the west coast, east coast, and a few down in the mid ranges. So I like that they're diversified. Their plants, or if you want to learn more about their plants, they have a really cool thing on their website where you can they'll give you a tour. So if you go to facilities and then to go to the virtual tour, it's a really, really cool informational video on how their waste to energy systems work. In short, they burn trash, they heat it, steam it into turbines, and they turn that into electrical grid. As we covered this. Another important thing about this industry is that it's heavily, heavily regulated. Convanta every once in a while will get fined for, I don't know, maybe something about pollution and whatnot. But since it's such a heavily regulated industry, Convanta doesn't really have that many competitors. I guess their main competitors within the industry are just other companies that can produce energy. But their waste to energy thing is quite unique, and that's one thing I like about their company. So that is how their company works and how they operate and how they make their money. On the financial side of the company, it's a very, very slow growth company, at least since about 2015. Revenues went from about $408 million to about $454 million, which over, what is that, like a 3 or 4 years period is, I mean, that's not like explosive growth by any means. But their actual EBITDA, okay, which is earnings before interest, taxes, and amortization, is $83 million to $103 million per this quarter. Okay, so I should have clarified. We're talking per quarter here on quarter 2. Their total numbers, but I like to look at specific quarters and then compare how the quarters stack up against each other in time. So what I do is I look at, let's say I pick with the energy sector, obviously they're more profitable towards the end of the year. So let's just say we do Q3. Okay, so we look at Q3. I look at Q3 2018, 2017, 2018 doesn't exist yet, but 2017, 2016, 2015, 2014. And then from there I see, okay, what is the growth for this specific quarter? So what I'm trying to convey here is just, it's a slow growth industry. It's not a, how do I say, it's not an AbbVie or a, it's a regulated utility company. And just keep in mind, it's going to be very slow growth. But what you're going to get in return for that very slow growth is a high current starting dividend yield. Their current payout is $1 per share, and that's right now at the specific stock price. I think it's at like $16.15, is at a 6.23% dividend yield. And this is another company, since they haven't raised their dividend since 2014, which is why I brought that up. Why I brought up 2014. I would purchase. Okay, number one is. What I'm going to do, as I'm not a licensed financial advisor, don't take anything I'm saying as advice. This is for my own personal investing. You're encouraged to do your own research, to go to your own financial advisor and all that good stuff. But how I'm going to do this is I'm only going to purchase the stock if it has a starting yield of 6% or more. If you look at a chart, it goes up to $17 and drops down to $14, and I'm with almost no dividend growth. I'm not satisfied with a 5% yield on this type of company. So for me, I would operate it on cash flow. I forgot the actual term for it, but basically I would buy the stock based on the starting yield, not on. Yeah, that's pretty much how I'm going to do it. So what I'm probably going to do is sell puts for a price that I'm willing to purchase the stock for, and let's see where it goes from there. But right now, I would buy the stock if I had more cash, but I want to put my funds at Atlantic Yield. Yeah, and that's your overview of the company, and that's at least my overview of this company. Convanta Energy is probably one of the more interesting companies. That virtual tour is so cool, and I highly recommend you guys check that one out. If you guys are more interested in corporate overviews, check out my Atlantic Yield video. If you guys also want to learn more about economics, check out my discussion video on after I read Basic Economics by Thomas Sowell. If you want to learn more about my brokerage issues, go to why I switched from Robinhood to Fidelity. Anyways, guys, thank you very much for watching. Akuma out.